everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Vanissia. This is the Woolly Worker Knitting Podcast, and today I am joining you for a special episode of the Woolly Worker Knitting Podcast. Today we're going to be talking all about knitted t-shirts or tees. I'm really excited to be talking about this. I wasn't really in the mood for any spring knitting inspiration, spring plans. Back in March, I guess, already is when those types of videos were coming out. I wasn't sure if I was going to do one at all, but I've really been enjoying the warmer weather we've been having in Scotland, and also I've actually been casting off a couple of t-shirts in the last week, including this one that I am wearing. This is the Moonset Tee by Ozetta. It's been on my needle since June of last year, so that felt incredibly rewarding to be casting off, and being able to wear it today even, it's just like really... It feels really right to be wearing it, and I thought that feeling inspired by this t-shirt that I've just cast off, I was on Ravelry doing all my usual research and stash matching, and I realised that I actually had acquired quite a bit of spring and summer fibres last year in preparation for summer knitting, and I realised, like a lot of other people probably, that sometimes the summer knitting can take quite a bit longer than winter knitting, because maybe we don't have as much time available because we're spending more time outdoors and like maybe going on holidays and such, and also because usually they're in fingering weight. I 100% prefer wearing fingering weight garments in spring and summer. So yeah, I didn't do that much summer knitting last year, and then before you know it, it was cold again. So all that to say that I have acquired a lot of summer fibres, and now is the time to use it. I don't think I'm going to be purchasing a lot of new t-shirt quantities this year. I've got more than enough in stash, and I thought I would share with you the plans that I've got. I know for a fact I will not be able to knit 10 or 11 t-shirts this summer. That is just impossible, but it's fun to plan. I personally really enjoy just going on Ravelry and doing all that research anyway, and I'm not putting this as a to-do list, but more like potential to-do list, and if I'm feeling inspired to cast on another tee, which of course I am, having finished this one off, then I will just pick from that little list. And before I forget, I actually put all of these and more in a t-shirt bundle that will be linked in the description below if you just want to favorite that on Ravelry. While you're there, you can also friend me on Ravelry, follow me on Instagram, join the knitting Discord. At this point you probably know my big spiel. All my links are in the description, as well as timestamps, my measurements, and all the links to patterns, project pages, yarns, color names. Everything that I mention is in the description, and if I didn't put something and you have a question, feel free to contact me on any of the platforms. Always happy to have a chat with you guys. The structure of this video, I will talk about, I think, 10 t-shirts. And I think at the end I even have a little special mention, because I don't have the stash for those t-shirts, but I really wanted to showcase them and bring them to your attention, because maybe they're from lesser known designer, and even though I don't have the stash to make them, maybe you do. So there's a little honourable mention at the end, but the main 10 t-shirts I will talk about, I have the stash in yarn. I have the yarn in stash for. So what I wanted to do was that I will keep the photo of the pattern that I'm talking about right here next to me while I talk. I know a lot of you have said that that's like really appreciated in past videos when I've done this. I've actually made a video all about t-shirts last year, which, you know, you guys were watching last year, and funnily enough, it's gotten some traction in the last few weeks. So even though it was a year old, I guess it's still relevant. So if you haven't seen that one, feel free to go check it out. There's 10 t-shirts. I will not be talking about those same projects again. I think the Moonset was actually in that list before, so that's one of those ticked off. But anyway, I will keep the photo next to me while I talk. I will probably also put a screenshot of Ravelry specs, just so that I'm not just reading off the Ravelry specs, because you can do that for yourself. So anything like needle size or sizes available, that will be as a screenshot. And then I will talk about why I chose that pattern, what yarn I want to use for the pattern, and why I chose that yarn specifically. There's going to be quite a vast variety of fibres and fibre content. I mean, there's going to be some fingering weight, some DK weight. All of them are single strands. There's going to be some hand dyed, some commercial yarns, and I'm just really excited to be telling you all about merino, alpaca, cotton, linen, silk, bamboo maybe, I can't remember, but there's going to be a lot, and I hope maybe you find a new yarn or that this video inspires you. And yeah, I think that's it. Let's get started. What an intro. Alright, so first up on the list we have the Lakes Tee by Ozetta. I feel like this is actually very on topic for two reasons. Firstly, currently in testing is the Lakes Tee Striped by Ozetta. I actually am not sure whether there's going to be any other differences between the two patterns, between this one and the striped tee version that's coming out relatively soon, I think. I would be glad to know if you know of a differences, like maybe in gauge or something in the two t-shirts, but I'm planning to make the unicolor version. The suggested yarn is Wool Dreamer Saona, so is the Lakes Tee Stripe that's coming out. And then the second reason why I think this is topical is that the yarn I am planning to use is the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino. It was out of stock in most retailers for quite a while, and they've actually just restocked all of it and added some new colors. But I had some colors. I had a color of Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in stash since last summer, so let me show you that right now. I'm going to be making it in this beautiful grey. It's called Grey Lamb. I have 4 balls of it, which should be enough for my size small. I think this is an absolutely gorgeous shade. It's a light to medium grey, depending on the lighting. I think it comes off as cool, but sometimes it's even more neutral or almost warm. It's a really interesting shade. I think it varies on the light, and it's a tiny bit heathered. I can see some flecks of white fibers through it. It's really, really soft. I haven't knitted with cotton merino so far from Knitting for Olive. Actually, I don't think I've knitted with any cotton merino yet. This is 70% cotton, 30% merino, and honestly, so far it just feels like merino, if not a little cooler, which I'm hoping will be working in my favor when I'm making this tee. So the tee itself is a saddle shoulder tee, and this is the reason why it's I think this is the reason why it's number 1 on my list. One of my favorite pullovers ever is the Lakes Pullover by Ozetta, so it only makes sense that I'd be tempted to make the Lakes tee. The gauge is 26 stitches, which is a little tighter than the usual 24 stitches per 10 centimeters that you see in fingering weight patterns. If I'm unable to reach 26 stitches, I might size down and do a size extra small for the pattern. But the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino is actually known to be a light fingering, so it might not be too hard anyway to reach that 26 stitches gauge. The t-shirt is oversized, it has some suggested positive ease, and it is made top down. There are some short rows. I might crop it a little bit, depending on what I intend to wear this with. As with a lot of the other t-shirts on the list, I probably will wear them with high-waisted shorts or high-waisted linen pants. I obviously was tempted to go for maybe other fun colors from the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino range, but I thought that a grey t-shirt would be so wearable throughout all 6 months of the spring and summer season, and that I wouldn't be struggling to pair it with anything, and I would be maybe more likely to reach for it as I would with my ready-to-wear clothes when they're neutral. I think the Knitting for Olive is a little thinner than the Wool Dreamer Saona, so I'm hoping to get a lot of drape from this t-shirt. I'm excited because I know that cotton will provide that freshness, coolness, and breathability, while the content of the merino will help with the elasticity of the garment. It will help making my stitches neater and also help with the rib. There's a ribbed collar, ribbed cuffs, and a ribbed hem, and I know that usually my tension in plant fibers isn't necessarily the neatest for things like that, like knits and purls, so that's why I'm looking forward to making this in a cotton merino. I could see myself making another one in a merino possibly in the future, but yeah, I think that this would be a perfect project for me to dip my toes into the world of cotton merino, and I need to use this quantity before I even allow myself to purchase the new shades that have just been released. I have my eye on the blueberry ice cream and Japanese anemone. I really, really like those 2 shades, but for now it will be Grey Lamb. The next pattern that I want to talk about is the Colored Tip Tee by Emily Curtis, or Gently Chaotic Knits. She also has a podcast here on YouTube, and she has a really lovely Instagram that I would encourage you to go follow. She's a knitting designer, but she also knits a lot of other designers' projects, so I really can feel inspired by whatever she posts a lot of the time. She seems like a really lovely person, and this t-shirt is one of the first that made me discover her as a knitting designer, and I'm annoyed at myself for not reaching that design yet. So she used Pearl Soho linen quill in her sample, and it's not a yarn that's accessible to me here in the UK. There were a couple of occasions where I almost purchased it from the US while they were having a big sale, which would have made it a bit more financially accessible to me. I was hesitating for colors. I really, really love her like Lego themed sample here with the primary colored trims all over. It's a satin sleeve construction with the little trims and a little pocket, and I think twisted rib details. So yeah, it's lovely, lovely details. Almost looks store-bought. I actually have a lot of summer tees that I've bought in shops that have a little pocket here. So I think this is really me. This is a me garment. But I thought maybe I'd just go with the color palette that she chose, so like get the same white and then maybe do with yellow, blue and red I had in stash. Or I could just do a unicolor version with a different color of pearl Soho linen quill. But anyway, long story short, I never actually ended up buying linen quill. Fingers crossed I get to it one day in the future. But I thought that I had some stash actually for this, which is Knitting for Olive Merino. So I was just saying that for a lot of the projects like that in summer, you can pretty much substitute the cotton merino and the merino together. We live in Scotland in this climate. We don't really have weather that requires really, really cold. Let me reword that. It doesn't get that warm here in Scotland, and so me wearing merino in June will not be a problem. I know that for a fact. I mean, fingers crossed because of global warming. But yeah, so this is the color Dusty Sea Green, which I had originally bought to make a camisole from My Favorite Things Knitwear. It was the camisole number 5, which is the halter top. And I realized that this is not a shape that I particularly like on my body or would feel confident and comfortable wearing. And again, a camisole will be less useful for me than a t-shirt. So those 3 balls that were going to be useful for me for a camisole, I think will be enough to carry me through a t-shirt. I might have to crop it once again, but the t-shirt is top down, so that won't be a problem. It doesn't require much finishing either, so yeah, I'm planning to make this in a unicolor, crop it, still have enough for the pocket. If I have to omit the pocket, then I will. If I have to make the trims in different colors, I might also do that. I don't know if you think of a contrast color that would go well with this dusty green. I wouldn't want it to be too high contrast, like I don't think a white would be appropriate, but let me know if you can think of something that would look nice with that, just in case I run out. But this is pretty much, I think, 750 meters, and that will be enough for the t-shirt. It was difficult for me to choose that yarn for this t-shirt because I've had the t-shirt on my list for so long, and because it suggests a yarn that is special, like pearl Soho linen quill, I was thinking of doing this t-shirt originally with maybe a merino linen blend, just something that was a bit more summery. But after reflection, I think that the really classic fit and using a really classic yarn in non-superwash merino, I think that pairing those two together will just give me something that I'm not going to get sick of. I will not have troubles knitting it because I know how merino behaves, and I know that I will be able to wear it at any season. I could wear that in winter with a bit of a cardigan on top, because if this was made in cotton or linen, maybe I wouldn't be reaching for it in winter. So I'm really happy with that. It wasn't yarn that was bought with this pattern in mind, but it's something that ended up working out in my stash, and it's always really satisfying when you can match a pattern and some yarn together. So I'm really looking forward to making the color tip tee. There's also the dad sweater, which is worsted weight or iron away sweater that follows the same shoulder construction, which is also on my list. I didn't get to reach that in my queue in winter, so I'm hoping that the color tip tee will stay high up in the priorities and I might be able to finish it in this season. The next project is the Shore Tee by Anne Wenzel, and this was actually released as part of the Isager Breeze collection, if I'm not mistaken, last year. Yes, so we had the Levitate wrap, that was my coup de coeur, like heart strike. Is that a word in English? What's the expression when you see, like, love at first sight? Yes, heart struck. Love at first sight was the Levitate wrap. But there were other patterns by other designers in that Breeze collection that really caught my eye, and the Shore Tee was one of them. I really, really like that boat neck, almost 3/4 length sleeves, little lace detail that still isn't that revealing, that I would probably just be fine with a bra. I wouldn't feel like I really need a tank top or a bralette or something that's kind of like dressy. I could just just wear a bra with that little lace. And the yarn I'm planning to use is the Rerum Natura Penelope, which I have used last summer and was completely enamored with. So I used it last summer for a camisole, and I immediately bought another quantity because I knew that this yarn had a place in my stash for sure. This is Penelope. This is the color, I think it's Petit Matin. Yes, it is Petit Matin, which means little morning. I guess maybe it's like that, like haze that you see in the morning, or the iciness of the fog. So yeah, this is a DK weight, and it is 90% wool, 10% silk, and yet that 10% does such a good job at making this wool really soft and also really shiny. Well, not really shiny, it has a little bit of a sheen to it. It's extremely soft, and it is cool to the touch. I remember wearing it a lot last year. The camisole that I made, I wore it all the time. It's still right now my go-to. I actually like the fact that it's DK, even though I just said I prefer fingering weight things, because the DK provides a little bit of a sturdiness and a bit of a thicker fabric, which for a camisole I thought was nice and protective, if you know what I mean, at the breast area. So yeah, I was really, really eager to use it again, and I decided to go for this light blue to kind of mimic the white of the model, Anne Wenzel, when she was wearing that one. So 50 grams here gives you 133 meters. It's a light DK. And I decided to choose that yarn, I think partly because I just really, really wanted to use the yarn, and I was desperate to find a DK weight t-shirt in my favorites on Ravelry that would fit the bill. So this time I had the yarn first, and I had to find a pattern for it. The lace, I think, will be fine with this wool. It will have enough stitch definition. I don't think that it's going to be too fuzzy where it hides the details of the lace motif. The original, I think, uses Alpaca 1 and Trio 2, which is a really great combination. It's really special. You get the rigid feeling of the Trio, which is a linen, bamboo, linen, I already said that, blend. And the Alpaca 1, which has elasticity, but can also be a bit fuzzy and provide warmth. It's a really interesting blend. I was just happy to find something, even though it's maybe counterintuitive or it doesn't feel like it's a match in terms of the yarn fiber content between her pattern and my yarn substitution. But I think maybe we'll give it a different look. There are twisted rib details on this, and again, this will work perfectly with the nice plump merino that we have here, as opposed to what maybe the linen would give me if I were to choose that. And once again, I just feel like I'm not taking too big a risk, because I know that merino, I know how it works, I know how it behaves, I know how it looks with my tension, and I'm just really feeling like this is going to be nice yarn to work with while I do the pattern. The pattern, I have mixed feelings about it, because I know that there's only 5 sizes available. There have been errors people have found in the patterns, and sometimes things don't necessarily make sense if you're reading line by line. But if you've constructed a pattern of that, if you've made a pattern of that construction before, and you might be on automatic mode, you might not even see the mistakes because you're just doing the right thing anyway. So I'll keep an open mind as to what kind of finished item I get from this, but for this pattern, I'm definitely more excited about the yarn than I am about the pattern, but I know that the pattern will be very wearable in a lot of different weathers because of that kind of, again, 3/4 sleeve, little bit of breathability with the lace, and then the boat neck, which is really different than the usual patterns that are on this list. Next up on the list, and I'm really sorry in advance, is the Office Tee by Knit Flitter. I'm saying sorry because I've talked about this pattern at length in different videos, and also the pattern isn't available to buy anymore on Ravelry right now because the designer is on maternity leave, but it will be available I guess in maybe half a year at most. I think in September she might be coming back, so sorry about that, but I wanted to keep it in my list because this video might be watched again in 12 months when summer and spring arrives again, or also maybe you already have the pattern yourself, and I just wanted to remind you that it exists. So this is a summer t-shirt that is published by Knit Flitter. It's fingering weight, it's also a saddle shoulder, but it's not made with saddles, it's still made with increases. So it's a different construction than the Lakes tee, but it's a silhouette that I really, really like on me, and I really like the look of this office tee on all the projects that I've seen of people making this. I decided to go for a hand-dyed yarn for this one. Even though usually I'm reticent to do that because it feels like overkill to be buying 2 skeins of yarn for a t-shirt if I'm only using 1 and a bit, but yeah, sometimes you just have to not be as efficient as possible and have leftovers. That's just life. The color that I've chosen to use for this one is this from the Fibre Fox. So this is Alpaca Silk Cashmere 400 meters per 100 grams, and it is herbaceous from their spring court collection. It was a pre-order that I did last spring, and I received this I think in July or August, so it was a little late to be making summer teas, I thought, but I knew that I would be coming back to it. It's a really beautiful sage pistachio grass green with a little bit of brown speckles. It's really reminding me of nature and like the floor of a meadow or something. It's really nice and drapey. As you can see, I'm struggling to keep it straight. I'm currently making a tea, actually. I will show you in this exact same yarn base by the same yarn dyer, but in different color. And I can even show you the difference between blocked and unblocked that the fabric creates. This is the top of the t-shirt, and then there's the bottom as well. So you can probably see the line here between what is blocked and even, and then the bottom of the tee, which I'm still working on, which is very uneven, and I think this goes to show that sometimes you really have to trust the process. Things can and do get better, and it's a really lovely light fabric. Like, this weighs absolutely nothing, and it falls beautifully on the body. I think it's such a good yarn fiber composition for a t-shirt, which is why I'm choosing it for this. I think it's just going to behave really well, and again, the alpaca offers me the elasticity, the cashmere makes it insanely soft, and then the silk makes it a bit of a like sheen, and also makes it soft and breathable and cool, even though the alpaca will make it warm, but I think it'll still be breathable. The gauge for this is 28 stitches, which once again is a little too tight for me. I can't reach that unless I go down to like a 2mm needle, which I'm not gonna do. So I probably will do the smallest possible size and just hope that the t-shirt won't be too big. But it does seem to have a little bit of positive ease, if not at the shoulders, at the bust. So yeah, I'll do the beginning of the t-shirt. I'll try it on and see if I'm too off gauge, but I really wanted to show off this beautiful hand-dyed yarn, and because I've been working with that same base recently, it's making me really excited to cast on this when I'm able to. Is it weird for podcasters to be knitting from patterns that other people can't get, or, you know, is it just, it's my life, I can do what I want? Let me know your thoughts, because I know I've had some people say, you know, oh, it's such a shame you're talking about this pattern and I can't get it, I'm so sad. So yeah, sorry if that's annoying. The next one, I'm really excited to talk to you about that, because I have not talked about this one on my podcast before, and it's actually a recent sort of discovery, or like the match between the yarn and the pattern was quite recent. This is the Road Tripper Tee by Ozetta. It's a 24 stitches gauge, and she actually uses a sport yarn, but I know I can reach that with a fingering weight yarn. So the original yarn suggested is Durarum Natura Ulysse, and I had actually bought that yarn in the exact same color, in that beige. It's called biche, for like deer. I had bought that last year, and then I realized that I actually didn't really want any more beige or brown things, so I ended up destashing that yarn on Ravelry. I'll put my destash below, by the way, if anybody in the UK is wanting some yarn at some sweet deals. You can always check that out. I keep it quite frequently updated. So anyway, somebody bought my yarn, and that meant I had to find another yarn in the stash for this t-shirt, because I really still wanted to make it. It's a beautiful Henley style shirt with an opening for 5 little buttons. I don't have anything like that in the wardrobe or in other projects in my favorite or in my queue. This is so unique. I know there were the Portobello sweater last year was quite popular, and it had those buttons, and this is just a t-shirt version of that, and I really like it. So this is a raglan t-shirt otherwise, and it has a lot of positive ease, the short little sleeves. I might crop it again, who knows, depending on I guess how I feel at the time. I'm really struggling to know what buttons I'm going to use, but before I discuss that, I guess I will show you the yarn that I'm going to use, and you might be familiar with that for different reasons. This is Kinross 4-ply. This is Kinross 4-ply in the colourway Scots Pine, which is actually the national tree of Scotland. It's really common there. So this is Scots Pine. It's coming off a little too bright here on camera. In real life it is a little bit more dark and muted, but I guess it's nice to know that it has so much depth to it and will change with the lighting as well. It's not the most summery or springy color, but I do have a lot of black t-shirts that I wear, so I don't mind having a darker colored t-shirt, and if I knit it myself, like, that's just even better. You may remember this yarn from a different project I had started a year ago, over a year ago. It was the Bibliophile by Alicia Plummer. I had lots of issues with this pattern and I ended up giving up on it, and I want to frog it. It's not frogged currently, but it's like almost ready to be frogged. It just didn't work out. Like the raglan was really not working and was bunching. I know Knitted by Whitney is having the exact same problem with her Bibliophile too in DK weight, so there's just something cursed about the Bibliophile, just be warned. But anyway, this is not about this topic. So I was really sad about that, Bibliophile not working, and I wasn't sure what I was going to use that fingering weight yarn for. I really like working with Kinross for Reply. You know that if you've seen my podcast, you know if you've watched any other UK podcast talk about this. I don't think anybody has ever had a negative thing to say about Kinross for Reply, and yeah, I'm still in the camp. I just didn't know what sweater to do, and then it hit me, I don't have to do a sweater, I can do a t-shirt. So even though I have 6 skeins of that, or had 6 skeins, I currently have 3, and 3 are in the pullover that I'm about to frog. So yeah, even if I only end up using 4 in the t-shirt, that means I'll have 2 left over. I can do some accessories or something. So it's fine to split my quantity and to give it a different purpose, to go from pullover to t-shirt. I hope that all made sense, but that was my thought process. And now I'm really happy to have a quantity at the ready that is really soft, will be quite warm. This is 100% lamb's wool, if you didn't know, and it feels really nice right now. It feels like a non-superwash merino, but once it's blocked, it blooms and softens and becomes really plump and plush and cushiony, and it feels like cashmere. But it's not cashmere. So I am looking forward to having that in a t-shirt that I know, again, I will wear probably in a lot of different seasons and will look really good. I know this color looks good on me and is one of my like nice neutrals, if you can call it that. I'm wondering what kind of buttons you would see going with this yarn for the t-shirt. Is tortoiseshell a bit too brown? Like, does brown and blue go well together? Is black better? Or again, is black and blue not a good match? Maybe go the complete other direction and do like, you know, the oyster pearl, like pearl buttons. I'll show it again on camera so you can see the color, and let me know if you know of a good match for that, or if you even have like a link to a button or something, or yeah, just let me know what would go well with that. Okay, the next pattern is the Poppy Tee by Petite Knit. If you thought that this list was not going to have any Petite Knit, I'm sorry to disappoint. She is here hidden amongst the other designers. But this one I'm really excited about because the yarn is really special. So yeah, the Poppy Tee by Petite Knit is again one with a interesting shoulder construction. It's like the contiguous method that she then used for the Lyon sweater later on, the Lyon chunky, and then the Eva cardigan. So I think the Poppy Tee was the first one of that whole line that had that shoulder construction, and everybody was obsessed with it. She used Cardiff cashmere in her sample in the colorway Poppy. Actually, no, it was, I think, Hermes. But then, yeah, everybody was obsessed with that poppy red. And I think maybe, I don't know, I might say something completely stupid here, but did she start that whole poppy red trend that we had last summer? I don't know. But I was obsessed. I love this t-shirt so much. I think it came out just after I made my 10 t-shirts I want to knit video. That's why she didn't make the cut last year, but here she is, 1 year on, I still want to make it. And actually one time I had a lovely viewer from the US who said that she was coming to the UK to visit family, and she asked me if I wanted her to bring back any yarn from the US that she would then be able to send me if I wanted to try any, and I jumped on the occasion. I had heard of a couple of yarn brands that I wanted to try, so yeah, she really kindly ordered some, got some, sent it over. It was really generous of her to offer to go through the trouble. And the yarn I wanted to try was actually inspired by Amy from Knits. She made the Poppy Tee by Petite Knit, and she made it in Kelborn Woolens Mojave. And she made hers in a really beautiful electric blue, which suits her coloring so much. And this is the color that I chose for myself. So this is a beautiful sort of lilac periwinkle blue. It's such a beautiful color. It is the perfect mixture of purple and blue. I still don't really know what to call it. I want to call it lilac. So I got 4 skeins of it, and I will show it to you here a bit more. I think it's 50 grams per skein, and I think it may be a sport weight, so it's 170 meters per 50 grams. It's 60% cotton, 40% linen. So now we're moving away from all the merinos and alpacas I've been showing you, and now we actually only have plant fibers here. And yeah, I'm excited because I want to go out of my comfort zone. I want to see what the experience will be like. Will it be too hard on my wrists? Will I not enjoy the final texture? Or my stitches, will they be uneven? I know that if Amy was able to get a beautiful poppy tee with that yarn, I might be able to, so it's not too out of my comfort zone. But that color was just everything, and I can't believe I was able to get my hands on this wool. And I think I'll be able to reach then the gauge of 23 stitches per 10 centimeters that Petite Knit has in her original sample. Have you made the poppy tee? And if so, do you like it? Okay, but I think that's everything for the poppy tee, because you probably have heard a lot about this one already by a lot of other people. So the next one is the Cottagecore Crop by Kate Garda. And I've talked about this one as well in my hand-dyed yarn video, that you can do projects with 2 skeins. I'll put the link above again if you haven't seen that. But in that video, I'm not sure if I showed what color I was planning to use. I was saying that this actually seems to be working really well with heavily variegated yarns, which usually I feel like if there's too much going on with a project in terms of textures or design and visual features, maybe you shouldn't be overwhelming the eye by having another busy yarn. But I feel like this pattern kind of throws the rules out of the window and everything works anyways. A lot of people have used heavily variegated yarns, and even though it has the little ruffle, the buttons and a bit of lace, I still think that it works really well. So anyway, having said that, I was looking at my stash. I have recently received some yarn from a pre-order from Zakami. Actually, there was a naming contest on their Instagram when they were announcing the new colorways, and what my favorite colorway of their entire collection I really loved, and I suggested a name and I was picked for that. So then I ended up winning 1 skein of it for free. So one of these skins I bought, and then the other I got for free, and I named this colorway Stardust. So this is Stardust by Zakami. And this is a non-superwash merino fingering. It's just a really, really beautiful sort of off-white neutral with a lot of layered colors. You get some pastel pinks, pastel blues, some speckles, of course. It's really gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. It's really soft. It feels plump and round, and I think that this is going to work perfectly for another little top like that. I think that this will work great for the little ruffle at the bottom of the Cottagecore Crop. And because it's not too crazy a yarn, I thought maybe I could have some fun with the buttons, maybe go for Pigeon Wishes. I think that they have some that are like quite small, because this one has maybe like 6 or 8 little buttons at the top of the bottom of the v-neck. So yeah, and maybe I can even make the sleeves a tiny bit longer. I think in the original pattern they come up a bit high, like a cap sleeve almost, and I think I'd like mine to fall a little lower, like some of the previous patterns that I've shown. But I just wanted to take this opportunity in this video to reiterate that I really like the Cottagecore Crop, and I think this is something that's maybe not in people's radar, but it should be. If you have some hand-dyed, it looks really great. And if you don't have hand-dyed, just a simple merino will do, and that's what I'm planning to use for mine anyway. The suggested yarn was a hand-dyed merino from US Hand Dyers. And I also wanted to show off my new yarn, because I've kind of stopped showing acquisitions in my podcast episodes, but I was excited to show off this color anyway. So yeah, here's Stardust. And while we're on the topic of hand-dyed, I'll just quickly go over the next t-shirt, which is almost not a t-shirt, but it is. It's the Ghost Whisperer by Park Williams. That is another one that's been on the radar of Instagram and YouTube for a while, due to the fact that it can pretty much be done with only 1 skein of hand-dyed for a lot of the sizes. It is a lace weight yarn that is recommended, like mohair or Surrey. And yeah, I've got this Surrey that is 400 meters by 50 grams. I bought it at a yarn festival. It was the Glasgow School of Yarn back in, I want to say November last year, in the color Flamingo. And look at that. I mean, I think this is coming off like radioactive pink, and it's not that shiny and luminescent in real life, but it is the most amazing pink. It's like a strawberry sorbet milkshake. It's honestly delicious, and I'm sorry for using that word. I know it's not food, but it is scrumptious. Sorry, I had to say it. Hand-dyed in Aberdeen by Cookston Crafts. Yeah, I'm almost sad that I don't have more, because I think this would have been such a great pullover, but I think that this shade really screams summer. So what I was planning to do is to make a Ghost Whisperer by Park Williams, and to just wear that shade and be so happy and feel so summery, like a big strawberry person. The only thing is that I think I'm going to do a few modifications to the Ghost Whisperer. It's got big puff sleeves, but I've seen people maybe not do that. I'm not entirely sure right now what modifications I will do, but the pattern almost has 900 projects on Ravelry, so I know for a fact people will have modified the t-shirt. This is made bottom up, so again, maybe I'll make it top down. I don't obviously have a lot of yarn to play with, so I might have to play yarn chicken, but I think this will be really cute, even if I make another knitted bralette to wear underneath, or just like wear a normal bra. I don't know, just the fact that there's so many people who have made this on Ravelry before me means that there's a lot of scope for seeing styling options. And then there's obviously Instagram, which sometimes offers a bit of a different input than Ravelry does. But yeah, if anybody knows of a commercial yarn that is this exact shade or color, like it's a really, really good, it's not too coral, it's not too orange, it's not too pink and too fuchsia, like let me know if you know of a color that would match this, and I'm going to favorite it for later, because this shade is like the perfect pink and I'm almost like not wanting to use it. But I think this project should be quite fast, and the gauge is 12 stitches per 10 centimeters. Okay, next up is the Poet Tee by Sari Nordland. Sari Nordland has a million t-shirt patterns. She's the queen. She, I think, is my favorite designer and the one whom I've bought the most patterns from, just because she just does everything. I've got sock patterns, accessories, camisole, tees, cardigan, pullovers, lace, cables, color work, and I've got her book as well. This is the Sari Nordland podcast. So it only is natural that I will bring up one of her t-shirts. This is actually quite a recent release. It was in April 2024. She has a few other poet things in her collection, like the Poetry pullover, Poetria. She has a bunch. One of them was published in Lane magazine, and then just a lot of them were published after. I love that lace motif that is the feature of all of those designs, and this t-shirt is no exception. It's raglan and it's a DK weight. So this one, again, the yarn came first and the pattern came after. I have some knitting for Olive Pure Silk in the color Coal, that again I bought last year at the same time that I bought the cotton merino. I've since realized that I don't know if I suit black, but again, I have a lot of black t-shirts anyway in my wardrobe that I wear all the time, so even if I shouldn't wear black, I'll still keep wearing black. I just wasn't sure if I wanted to do something that was completely in stockinette, and I think I regretted buying 4 skeins. If I only had 2, I could just make a camisole and be done with it. 4 is a t-shirt quantity, so I had to find a t-shirt. I looked on Ravelry for t-shirts that were DK weight. I don't have that much, because I guess I have 500 meters of DK or 1,000 meters of fingering. So I might have to crop this t-shirt if I do make it. But what I was saying was that there were a lot of t-shirts that she had, and a lot of them had cables or lace or textures, and I thought cables might be a bit much in black, and the pure silk anyway doesn't lend itself well to cables in my opinion, but the lace would lend itself well to does that make sense? No, the silk would lend itself well to lace, I believe. And you might ask, why make a whole lace tee if it's in black? Will you not be able to see the lace? I actually saw a project that was made in black and you could still see it, so that gave me confidence. And I think that this will be nice and subtle. So I could still change my mind. I wanted to just put one of the t-shirts from Sari Nordland on the list because she just has so many, and I really like all of them. She has a few raglans, a few circular yokes actually, and then a few drop shoulders. She has a few drop shoulders as well. I think the raglans I like the most for a tee. The circular yokes are just tricky to get, and then sometimes you can't really estimate how plant fibers will behave and pull down on the body, which will then make your yoke droop lower and might give you bat wings. That's my worry with circular yokes, which is why you've not seen many on this list, but the last t-shirt on the list is actually a circular yoke. But I guess maybe this is a bit more of an open question now that I realize that I don't even have that much yarn in stash. I don't know if I want to be making this poet tee, so let me know if you have an idea for these 4 balls of Knitting for Olive pure silk. This is an open question, and I really hope that you can give me recommendations. I know that this will come in handy one day, but I guess I'm not as sure as I thought I was. So that was a big realization moment here while filming. But let's end on a positive note. Something that I am sure is going to happen is the Anchor Summer Shirt by Petite Knit. So this is something that I've had in stash for maybe the longest as well, or at least on my queue for the longest, and I'm going to be making it almost in the recommended yarn. The recommended yarn is Stainless Garn Linne. I'm going to make mine in Tin Linne, held double. So yeah, the only reason for that is that I already had 2 or 3 of the Tin Linne for a different project, and I changed my mind, so I just bought more yarn to continue this quantity, and I will just hold it double. Doesn't seem to be any issues with dye lots, and since I'll be holding the yarn double anyway, I'll just stagger the new lots together. But I'll just make it in this white color. I think the color is 1015, which is Kit. It might be the original yarn as well. I was very not adventurous at the beginning of my knitting journey, and I probably still am not in terms of color choices. But yeah, anyway, I really wanted to make this t-shirt because it just looks really, really comfortable. I wonder if holding this fingering double will give me a different fabric than if I were to hold the DK weight 1 single. I know sometimes it can be a bit denser when you're using 2 fingering instead of 1 DK. I know a lot of people, myself included, have compared Linne with Drops Bell. I am not a fan of Drops Bell. I don't like how it behaved while I was knitting. The knitting experience was not enjoyable. I was way too used to Merino and its springiness and bounce. Bell was nothing like that. And then it felt really heavy, it felt weird when it was wet. It was a little scratchy, which caught me by surprise when I was thinking of the fiber content, which was cotton, linen, and viscose. I didn't think that this was going to be scratchy, but the Bell was, in my opinion, for my skin. So I don't know if this is going to be the same. I'm doing this t-shirt as an experiment, I guess, to try out Tin Linne and see by extension if Linne is worth it, or if you should just get Drops if that's what you're looking for. This t-shirt is quite an old pattern from Petite Knit. It's June 2017, so it actually doesn't even have short rows, but I know a lot of people have made that modification because there's 8,000 projects on Ravelry. So yes, it has been done before, and people have added short rows at the back, which I will 100% do. I also know that my ribbing isn't the neatest, and this t-shirt is an all-over rib yoke. It's like extending rib, and I probably will make sure to go down 1 or even 2 needle sizes, do it with wooden needles, and if it's really not nice looking, I might do twisted rib, which I've seen people do in some of the projects, and I think that that would be quite a nice way of changing things up and making sure that I'm happy with how my stitches look. But if not, I'm looking forward to having a t-shirt in, again, a different fiber, something that should really be breathable and light. But if it's as heavy as the Drops Bell, then I might just be happy and grateful that I tried the yarn, but not buy it in the future. It's not that big a commitment, and I'll be, of course, reporting back to you guys about how this yarn behaved. Okie doke, so before we leave off, I will mention a couple of honourable mentions here, and I will say the reasons why I'm not making them right now, probably. So first of all is the So Summer Shirt by Jessie Maid. This one, I've seen a lot of people do it recently and last year, and it really came on my radar. It's like a cropped t-shirt. It's really emphasized that it's made in linen and cotton blend, so I really wanted to, again, put myself out of the comfort zone, not go for a merino, and just wait until something came in my stash, aka until I bought it. It doesn't just appear. But I will wait for something to inspire me in terms of how drapey it is and summery. The gauge is 22 stitches, so it's like even looser, and I'm looking forward to making it one day. If you have any yarn recommendations for the So Summer Shirt, let me know if you've made it yourself, because I know it is a popular pattern, so I'd really like to make one if I find the right yarn for it. Next one is the Tombow Tee by Florence Miller, handmade by Florence. I 100% want to make this t-shirt in the same colors. I have half the yarn quantity, but I sadly don't have the other half. I've got the white, but I don't have the olive or like the dark grey brown. So I might be able to get some this summer because I'm going to go to Europe to visit my parents, so I might be able to get it. And if I do, then this t-shirt might come at the top of my list for next summer. The next one is the Tumble Tee by Lydia Morrow. It's a raglan tee, it has a lot of negative ease. It's been described as being really focused on fit and making sure that it looks perfectly tailored to you. There's bust darts options. I'm really looking forward to knitting patterns from Lydia Morrow. I think the Tumble Tee is at the top of my list from her, but there's a few other ones like the Jackpot jersey that I want to make. There's also a cardigan she released recently that I wanted to do. She is not afraid of fingering weight projects, and that's also why I really like this designer, because obviously it'll be a slower output of designing patterns, but they might just be really timeless pieces because the fabric of them will be nicer. So the Tumble Tee is something that I want to do. Once again, I'm just not inspired yet by any yarn in my stash. I don't know if I want to go for hand-dyed, and again, have this dilemma of, do I buy 2 skeins of hand-dyed if I'm not going to be using the majority of the second one? Do I wait until I have leftovers of something? Or do I just go for good old store-bought non-superwash merino, like something from Knitting for Olive, and just like do it in a really fun summery color? Maybe. Next one is the Sunshine Tee by Andrea Gaughan. You may have heard about that because I think there's currently a knit along running for a few more weeks. This t-shirt I really wanted to do. I almost signed up for the test, but the thing that stopped me is because the gauge is really small. I think it's 27 or 28 stitches, and I can do 24 max. So I don't know if going down to like the first size would still not give me a t-shirt that is way too big for me to wear. I might one day give it a try, but I'm living vicariously through people that are making it right now and seeing lots of nice variations pop up, striped or not striped. I really wanted to make it. I love the details of the folded hems and the set-in sleeves. It looks like something that is store-bought, and once again, that is clearly what I'm looking for in my in a lot of the t-shirt patterns that I presented to you today. So that's it for my list, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you're curious about how any of these projects turn out, or if you really want to hear my thoughts on the yarn that I mentioned, then make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and keep up with the podcast episodes, where hopefully some of these will be cropping up this year, and if not, hopefully next year, because maybe now you will notice this about me, is that even though I start things and maybe I give up on them for a while, I come back to them. So I do follow through on my plans, even if they're from 2 years ago. So yeah, if you want to see any of those t-shirts knitted by me, then stick around. Hopefully we'll make my way to this list. And like I said, if you want to see more t-shirts that I liked, there will be a Ravelry bundle listed down below that you can check out. I hope that you found this video interesting. I know I didn't go in too much depth about the patterns themselves, and maybe the video was a bit more focused on the yarns per se, and I think that's okay. I think that this is what I was feeling like talking about, and this is what's really inspiring me. I think maybe you will have noticed that I was just feeling sometimes quite inspired by the yarn more than I was by the pattern, and that's okay, and it's nice to have accumulated and acquired a lot of different yarns and a variety of them that now I can really pick what I'm in the mood for. And it's also why it's important to keep in mind that there will be ebbs and flows in terms of what is inspiring us and how much we're adding to the stash and how much we're knitting. So it's all natural and it's all parts of waves. Last summer I was maybe more inspired by camisoles, and I feel like this summer I'm going to be more inspired by t-shirts, and maybe I'm going to be focusing more on those alpaca merino and cotton merinos, and less on those crazy silk and linen fibers. Make sure to check out episode number 30 that will be coming out, where you can then hear my thoughts on this t-shirt that I'm wearing, the Moonset Tee by Ozetta in the Fibre company Meadow. That is the yarn that this is made of, which is a crazy yarn blend that has a bunch of everything that we've just talked about. I think it has merino, alpaca, linen, and silk. Top of my head. So yeah, I will be doing a bit of a review of that in a future episode. But yeah, hope you're doing well wherever you are and that this video inspired you. It was really nice sitting down, chatting to you guys and getting excited about my own plans. Give this video a like if you like it, and comment below to give me your opinion on some of the questions that I've asked before. I'd really like to have your input. Take care everyone, and see you all next time. Bye! Happy knitting!